Welcome back to Silent Revenge Lab, the best channel for revenge stories. If you've ever felt invisible to the person who's supposed to see you most, listen closely. Because the moment my mother erased me from Mother's Day, she didn't just forget me. She rewrote the story of who I was. And that was the day I decided to quietly disappear. My name is Naomi Carter. I'm 27 years old, and I work as a logistics coordinator at a regional distribution warehouse just outside Maple Ridge, Indiana. This isn't a confession. It's a record. Something I'm leaving behind, so I never forget how easy it is for love to turn conditional. People here, warehouse, and their eyes glaze over. Steel racks, concrete floors, early alarms. To me, it meant stability when everything else collapsed. After my father passed, the bills didn't grieve with us. They kept coming. So I stayed. While my cousins packed apartments in big cities and my siblings chased titles that sounded impressive at dinner parties, I learned inventory systems and night schedules. It wasn't glamorous. It was necessary. But necessity doesn't photograph well. And my mother cared deeply about photographs. The first time I felt it was at a family brunch years ago. Someone asked what I was doing now. Before I could answer, my mom smiled too fast and said I was between bigger plans. She didn't say my job. She didn't say my name. Just a soft edit, like I was background noise. I told myself it didn't matter. That parents say awkward things. That love doesn't always sound perfect. But love shouldn't feel like embarrassment. Hold on, before we get into the real stuff, I want to know, what are you doing at this exact moment while hearing my voice? Driving? Folding laundry? Sitting alone with headphones on? Tell me in the comments. I read more than you think. Mother's Day was always a production in our family. Group texts, matching outfits, restaurant reservations made weeks in advance. I usually worked Sundays, so I'd stop by later with flowers and a handwritten card. No drama. No guilt. Or so I thought. 3 weeks before Mother's Day, my sister posted a photo in the family chat. A reservation confirmation. Can't wait for this, she wrote. Underneath, heart emojis. Everyone reacted. Everyone except me. I scrolled back. Read it again. Scrolled forward. Nothing. I told myself it was a mistake. Someone forgot to add me. That happens, right? 2 days later, I asked my mom what time we were meeting. Her reply came hours later. Short. Polite. Final. Oh, honey, this year is just a small thing. The girls and I already planned it. The girls. I was her daughter, but apparently not one of the girls. My chest tightened in that quiet way that doesn't look dramatic, but hurts worse. I didn't argue. Didn't ask why. Didn't explain my schedule or my job or my life. I just said, okay, hope you have a nice time. She sent a thumbs up. That night, I sat on my bed still wearing my work jacket, steel-toe boots on the floor, phone face down, and I realized something terrifying. I wasn't angry. I was clear. If I could be erased so easily, I could vanish just as quietly. No announcement. No confrontation. Just absence. And once that thought formed, I couldn't unthink it, because what I did next wasn't loud. It wasn't cruel, but it was intentional. And it started the very next morning. The quietest decisions are always the most dangerous. Mine didn't come with tears or slammed doors. It came with a calendar and a pen. The morning after that thumbs up message, I woke up earlier than usual. No alarm panic. No rush. Just clarity. I sat at my small kitchen table with a cup of coffee going cold and opened my calendar app. Mother's Day was circled in pink. I stared at it for a long time. Then I deleted the circle. Not crossed out. Not replaced. Just gone. That was the first thing I removed. Over the next few days, I started noticing how often I was the one reaching out. I was the one checking in. The one sending photos from work when a shipment went smoothly. The one asking about doctor appointments, birthdays, small details that prove you care. When I stopped, nothing rushed in to fill the space. No, how are you holding up? No, we haven't heard from you. No curiosity at all. That hurt more than the exclusion. At work, everything stayed the same. pallets, clipboards, long aisles humming with forklifts. My supervisor praised me for catching an inventory mismatch that could have cost the company thousands. I smiled. Then I realized something strange. The place my family pretended didn't matter was the only place I felt seen. One night during my break, I sat in my car scrolling social media. There it was, a photo already uploaded. My mother at a bright restaurant table, my sisters leaning in, everyone dressed beautifully, glasses raised. The caption read, "So grateful for my girls." I zoomed in without meaning to, studied the smiles. They looked relaxed, complete. I wasn't missed. I wasn't late. I simply wasn't part of it. I locked my phone and stared at the steering wheel until my brake timer buzzed. No tears, just a deep, slow breath. That was the moment I made the second decision. I stopped explaining my life. When coworkers asked about my family, I gave neutral answers. When relatives texted with vague, "Hope you're well," messages weeks later, I replied politely but briefly. No details. No invitations for judgment. It felt strange at first, like speaking with half a voice. But then something shifted. Without constantly defending myself, I had energy, mental space, room. I started staying after shifts to learn more systems. Volunteered for cross-department training. When an internal position opened up, one that paid better and didn't involve nights, I applied without telling anyone. Why would I? No one asked. A week later, HR called me in. They said my name with respect. They said they'd noticed my consistency. They said I was exactly what they were looking for. I accepted on the spot. That night, my mom texted out of the blue. "Hey, stranger. Haven't heard from you in a bit." I stared at the message. Read it 3 times. Not a question. Not concern. Just an observation. I typed, erased, retyped. "Yeah, been busy with work. Hope you're doing well." She replied with a smile emoji. Nothing else. I didn't feel rejected. I felt confirmed. Over the next month, I quietly changed things. Updated my mailing address. Redirected packages. I stopped showing up to events I wasn't directly invited to. Stopped reminding people of my availability. No announcements. No ultimatums. Just absence. And absence is powerful. Because when you stop begging for a seat, people finally notice the empty chair. But not all of them respond the same way. Some lean back. Some lean in. And my mother? She was about to realize something was missing. Just not in the way she expected. People think disappearing means running away. It doesn't. Sometimes it means standing perfectly still and letting everyone else feel the silence. The first sign came on a Thursday afternoon. I was halfway through onboarding paperwork in my new role when my phone vibrated. Mom. I let it ring. Not out of spite. Out of curiosity. She didn't leave a voicemail. That was new. 10 minutes later, a text came through. "Are you okay? You haven't been around lately." Around. Like I was a lamp that hadn't been turned on. I stared at the message while the office printer hummed beside me. For the first time, I didn't rush to reassure her. Didn't soften it. Didn't apologize for existing. "I'm fine," I wrote. "Just busy." That was it. Her response didn't come until later that night. "Oh, okay." 2 words, but something in them felt unsettled. That weekend, my aunt called. She never called. She left a voicemail this time, voice sweet but edged with concern. "Hey, Naomi, your mom mentioned she hasn't heard from you much. Just checking in." So now it was a conversation, just not with me in the room. I didn't call back. Not immediately. I wanted to see how far the echo would travel. At work, my days were changing fast. Meetings replaced manual counts. My badge opened new doors. People asked my opinion. They waited for my answer. One afternoon, my manager pulled me aside and said something that stuck. "You know, you don't shrink when you speak. You should have been here sooner." I smiled, but my chest tightened. Because I had been shrinking. Just not here. That night, I finally called my aunt back. Kept it light. Said I'd been busy. Said everything was good. "Well," she hesitated, "your mom's just worried." She feels like you're pulling away. I almost laughed. Almost. Pulling away implies someone was holding on. Instead, I said, I think I'm just growing. There was a pause on the line, then a soft, confused, oh. The next Sunday, my mom showed up at my apartment unannounced. I saw her car from the window. Same sedan. Same dent on the bumper. My heart sped up, but I didn't panic. I took a breath, counted to 5, then opened the door. She hugged me like someone reuniting after a long trip. Too tight. Too sudden. Why didn't you tell me you'd changed positions? She asked immediately. So that's what she knew. I didn't think it mattered, I said calmly. Her eyes flicked over my apartment. Not messy. Not fancy. Just mine. It matters to me, she said a little too quickly, then added, I just worry. You know how people talk. There it was. Not about my happiness. Not about my health. About people. I nodded. Didn't argue. Didn't defend my job. Didn't explain my choices. That silence made her uncomfortable. Well, she continued, forcing a smile. Mother's Day just felt different this year without you. I met her gaze. Let the words hang. You said it was just a small thing, I replied. Her mouth opened, then closed. She hadn't expected me to remember. She shifted topics quickly, asked if I was seeing anyone, if I was eating well, if work was temporary. I answered politely, briefly. When she left, she hugged me again, this time looser, uncertain. That night, I sat on my couch replaying the visit, not with anger, with clarity. She didn't miss me. She missed control. She missed the version of me she could explain to others without lowering her voice. And now that version was gone. But here's the thing about silence. Once people notice it, they try to fill it. And the next move, it wasn't going to be quiet at all. Silence makes people nervous. And nervous people start rewriting history. It began subtly. A cousin liked one of my old photos out of nowhere. A former family friend commented, "So proud of you," on a post I'd shared weeks earlier about a long day at work. Nothing dramatic, just enough to make me curious. Then the messages started. Not to me, about me. A coworker pulled me aside one afternoon and asked, "Hey, random question. Did you move or something? My aunt said your mom mentioned you were finding yourself in another city." Finding yourself. Again. I smiled politely and said, "Nope. Same place. Just busy." But inside, something clicked. My disappearance hadn't gone unnoticed. It had been rebranded. That night, I got a text from my sister, Claire. We weren't close, but we were civil. "Mom says you're upset with her. Is that true?" I stared at the screen longer than I should have. That question carried an accusation disguised as concern. "I'm not upset," I typed. "I'm just living my life." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. "She didn't mean to hurt you," Claire wrote. "You know how she is." I did know how she was. That was the problem. I didn't reply. 2 days later, there was a family group chat message announcing a summer gathering. Dates. Location. Potluck assignments. My name wasn't tagged, but this time someone noticed. "Is Naomi coming?" an uncle asked. There was a pause. Then my mom replied, "She's been really distant lately. We didn't want to pressure her." Pressure her? By excluding her? I watched the conversation unfold like a spectator at my own trial. No one asked me directly. They discussed me like I wasn't there. Something shifted in me then. Not anger. Resolve. That evening, I did something I hadn't planned to do yet. I updated my LinkedIn profile with my new title. Within hours, messages came in. Former classmates, old acquaintances, even a recruiter asking if I'd be open to future opportunities. And then, inevitably, my mother. Her call came late. Too late to be casual. Too early to be honest. I answered. "Why didn't you tell me you got promoted?" she asked, voice tight. I didn't think it mattered. I said, using her words from weeks earlier. There was a sharp inhale on the other end. Of course it matters. People are congratulating me. That sentence landed heavier than any insult. Congratulations for what? I asked calmly. A pause. Longer this time.
For raising you, she said.
I closed my eyes. I raised myself, I replied. Not harshly, just truthfully.
She didn't yell, didn't cry.
She switched strategies. Well, she said, softer now, I just wish you'd let us be part of your life again.
Us.
The same us that decided I didn't fit in photos. The same us that edited my existence for comfort. I never stopped you, I said. I just stopped chasing. That ended the call. After that, the tone changed. Invitations came with my name attached. Compliments became louder. Stories about me suddenly included accurate details. But something felt off. It wasn't care. It was damage control. They didn't want me back. They wanted the silence to stop making them uncomfortable. At work, things were accelerating. I was asked to lead a small team, trusted with decisions that actually mattered. One afternoon, while reviewing reports, I realized something almost funny. The more my family tried to pull me back into place, the further I'd already moved. Then came the message that changed everything. From my mom. 3 lines. No emojis. I think we need to talk. Really talk. Come over this weekend. I read it once. Then again. This wasn't about missing me. This was about regaining control of the narrative. And for the first time, I knew exactly what I was going to do. But she wasn't ready for how quiet my response would be. The hardest power to recognize is the one you already have. I didn't need to confront her. I didn't need to explain myself. I just needed to choose differently. I stared at my mom's message for a long time before replying. Every old version of me wanted to say yes immediately, to prove I wasn't difficult, to show I was still a good daughter. Instead, I typed one sentence. I can't make it this weekend. Maybe another time. No justification. No apology. Her response came fast.
Oh.
Okay. Let me know when you're free. Let me know. As if access to me was now conditional. That weekend, instead of driving to my childhood home, I did something radical. I rested. No alarms. No guilt. I cleaned my apartment slowly. Made a proper meal. Sat on my balcony with the evening air cooling my skin. And in that quiet, I realized how much tension I'd been carrying for years. The constant effort to be acceptable, presentable, explainable. On Monday, HR called me in again, this time with paperwork. They offered me a relocation opportunity. 6 months. Temporary assignment. Better pay. Different city. It wasn't glamorous, but it was growth. I asked for a day to think. That night, my phone buzzed nonstop. My sister, my aunt, even my cousin. Apparently, my mother had told them I was pulling away from the family, that I was hard to reach, that she was worried. No mention of Mother's Day. No mention of exclusion. No mention of how it started. I replied to no one. The next morning, I accepted the relocation. I didn't announce it. Didn't post about it. I simply began preparing. 2 weeks later, my mom found out. Not from me. From someone else. She called. This time, I let it ring twice before answering. You're moving? She asked, skipping the greeting. For a while. I said. Why didn't you tell me? Her voice cracked. Not with sadness, but with offense. Because you didn't ask, I replied. Silence. Then, you're doing this to punish me, aren't you? That question told me everything. I'm doing this for myself, I said. I always have. She started listing things. Everything she'd done. Every sacrifice. Every moment she felt unappreciated. I let her talk. When she finished, I said quietly, I'm grateful. But gratitude doesn't mean disappearing for someone else's comfort. She didn't have a response for that. The move happened quietly. No farewell party. No dramatic goodbyes. Just boxes. A new badge. A different skyline. In the new city, no one knew my family. No one needed an explanation for my job. No one flinched when I spoke confidently about my work. I was just Naomi. A month in, my mom sent a package. A card. A framed photo of me as a child. The message read, Hope this helps you remember where you came from. I set it on a shelf. Didn't cry. Didn't call. Because I knew exactly where I came from. What mattered was where I was going. And the space between us? It was finally teaching her something words never could. But not everyone learns quietly. And what she did next was loud. The loudest moments usually come from people who are losing control. It started with a post. I was sitting in my temporary apartment, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes, when my phone buzzed with notifications I didn't expect. Mentions.
Tags.
Messages. I opened social media and felt that familiar tightening in my chest. My mother had posted a long message, not naming me directly, but everyone knew. It talked about how hard it is when children forget their roots. About watching your daughter drift away after everything you've done. About praying she finds her way back. The comments poured in.
So brave.
You did your best. Kids these days don't understand sacrifice. A few people tagged me. Hope you're okay. Family is everything. I stared at the screen, completely still. This wasn't concern. This was public pressure. She had taken my quiet and turned it into a performance. For a moment, I felt that old pull. The urge to explain, to defend myself, to correct the story. But then I noticed something important. She still hadn't called to ask how I was doing.
She still didn't know my address.
She still didn't know what my new role actually involved. She just knew people were watching. I closed the app. At work, the relocation project was intense. Long days. High expectations. I was leading meetings with people twice my age, making decisions that affected real outcomes. One afternoon, my temporary director pulled me aside. We're impressed, she said. When this assignment ends, we want to talk about something permanent.
Permanent. My phone buzzed again that night.
A message from my sister. Why would you let mom look like this online? People are asking questions. Let her look like this. I typed slowly. I didn't post anything. That's not the point, Claire replied. You know how she feels. I did know how she felt. She felt exposed. I'm not responsible for managing her image, I wrote. The typing bubble appeared, disappeared. Then one final message. You've changed.
I smiled at that.
Because she was right. A week later, my mom called again. This time, crying. Real crying. Messy. Uncontrolled. I don't recognize you anymore, she said. You used to tell me everything. I listened quietly. You used to need me, she added. That sentence landed like a confession. I still love you, I said gently. But I don't need permission to live my life. She sobbed harder. I just wanted to be proud, she whispered. I took a breath. I needed you to be proud when no one was watching, I said. That stopped her. The call ended shortly after. No resolution. No apology. Just space. Days later, the social media post disappeared. No explanation. No follow-up. But the damage had already done its work. Relatives stopped messaging. The noise faded. And something unexpected happened.
Peace.
I started sleeping better, laughing more, feeling lighter. One evening, I went out with coworkers for dinner. Someone asked about my family. I answered honestly, without bitterness, without embarrassment. I love them, I said, but I'm learning who I am outside of them. No one judged me. No one questioned it. They just nodded. That night, walking back to my apartment under unfamiliar streetlights, I realized something powerful. My disappearance wasn't punishment. It was protection. And it was working. But my mother wasn't done trying. Because when quiet guilt didn't work, she tried something else. Something that forced me to make a final choice. When guilt fails, some people reach for leverage. It came in the form of a voicemail. Not from my mother. From my uncle. His voice was calm, practiced. The kind of calm people use when they think they're being reasonable. Naomi, he said, your mom's not doing well. I think it would mean a lot if you came home for a bit. Just to smooth things over. Smooth things over. Like a wrinkle. Like a mess someone else made. I didn't call back. Instead, I listened again. And again. He never asked what had happened, never asked how I was holding up, just assumed my presence was the solution. Later that day, my mother sent a message. I don't feel well. Doctor says stress isn't helping. I don't want regrets. Regrets. That word used to terrify me. Now it just made me pause. I replied carefully. I hope you feel better. I'm glad you're seeing a doctor. No promise. No plane ticket. The reaction was immediate. You really can't come? She asked. You're choosing work over family now? There it was. The old script. I didn't argue. I'm choosing balance, I said. And I'm not abandoning anyone. She didn't reply. For 3 days, there was silence. Then suddenly the group chat lit up. A photo of my mom in a hospital room. For stand. Pale lighting. The caption from my aunt read, Family is so important. Hug your loved ones. My heart pounded. I called the hospital directly, asked for information. It turned out she'd gone in for observation. Routine. Precautionary. Not nothing. But not what the photo suggested. That was the moment something hardened in me. Using fear to pull me back wasn't love. It was manipulation. That night, I wrote a message I'd been avoiding for months. Not long. Not emotional. Just clear. I love you, but I will not respond to pressure, public posts, or guilt. If you want a relationship with me, it has to be honest and respectful. Otherwise, I'm stepping back. I read it 10 times, then sent it. The reply came an hour later. So this is how it is now. Yes, it was. The next morning, I blocked the group chat. Muted extended family. Not forever. Just enough to breathe. At work, the permanent offer came through. Same company. New city. A real step forward. I accepted. I signed a lease. Changed my address again. This time, I didn't feel like I was running. I felt like I was arriving. Weeks passed. No emergencies. No dramatic collapses. Just normal life continuing. Then one afternoon, a message came from my mother. No guilt. No accusations. Just this. I've been thinking a lot. If you're willing, I'd like to start over. Slowly. I stared at the screen. This was new. No demands. No audience. Just an opening. But openings don't mean endings. And forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. I typed my response carefully. I'm open to talking, but I won't shrink again. She replied with a single word. Understood. I didn't know if it was true, but for the first time, the power wasn't in her hands. It was in mine, and what I chose next would determine everything. Starting over sounds gentle. In reality, it's terrifying, because starting over means you don't get to pretend nothing happened. I didn't call my mother right away. I let the word understood sit there for 2 full days. Not as punishment, as a test. Would she push? Would she panic? Would she rally the family again? She didn't. So on the 3rd evening, after work, I called. We talked like strangers learning each other's tone. Careful. Measured. She asked about the city. I told her about the weather. She asked about my job. I gave real details this time. She listened. Actually listened. No interruptions. No redirections. That alone felt strange. Then she said something I never expected. I think I was ashamed, she admitted quietly. I stayed silent. Not of you, she rushed to add, but of myself. I thought if you didn't look successful to others, it meant I had failed as a mother. There it was. Not an excuse. An explanation. I didn't realize how much I was making you feel small, she said. And when you pulled away, I panicked. I let the words settle. I needed you to be proud of me when it wasn't convenient, I said, when it didn't come with applause. I know, she replied. And for the first time, it didn't sound like a strategy. We didn't fix everything that night. We didn't cry together. We didn't make plans. We just ended the call without tension. That felt like progress. Over the next few weeks, we spoke occasionally. Short calls. No heavy topics unless I brought them up. She didn't post about me. Didn't ask for photos. Didn't fish for updates she could share. It was quiet. Meanwhile, My life kept expanding. I settled into my permanent role. New team. New responsibilities. A sense of momentum I never felt before. I made friends who knew me only as I was now. Not as someone's daughter. Not as a comparison. One evening, at a small dinner with coworkers, someone asked what motivated me. I surprised myself with the answer. I stopped trying to prove I was worthy, I said, and started building a life I could stand inside. That night, I got a message from my mom. I saw a photo of you at work. You look confident. No commentary. No hidden meaning. Just an observation. Thank you, I replied. Then came the question I knew would eventually arrive. Would you consider visiting sometime? I didn't say yes immediately. I will, I said, but it will be different. She replied, I know. When I finally did visit months later, nothing looked the same. Same house, same furniture, different energy. She didn't parade me, didn't call neighbors, didn't ask me to explain my job. She asked how I felt. That alone told me she'd learned something. But growth isn't linear, because while my mother was changing, the rest of the family wasn't. And not everyone was ready for the new version of me. That became very clear at the next family gathering. Growth is quiet. Resistance is loud. The family gathering was supposed to be casual. Just a backyard barbecue. Nothing formal. Nothing emotional. That's how they always start. I arrived with my mom. Not behind her. Not ahead of her. Beside her. That alone shifted the energy. Conversations paused when we walked in. Not rudely. Just noticeably. Hugs followed. Polite smiles. A few long looks. I felt it immediately, the recalibration. People who were used to seeing me on the edges were suddenly unsure where to place me. An aunt pulled me aside near the drink table. So, she said lightly, we hear you're doing really well now. Now. As opposed to before? I asked gently. She laughed a little too fast. Oh, you know what I mean. I did. And I let it go. Across the yard, my sister Claire watched us. Arms crossed. Unreadable. Later, during dinner, someone asked about my job. This time, my mom didn't answer for me. She waited. I explained my role. Clearly. Confidently. No one interrupted. No one corrected me. When I finished, my uncle nodded slowly. That sounds impressive, he said, surprised. I smiled. Not proudly. Peacefully. Then Claire spoke. Well, some of us didn't have the luxury of just leaving, she said, not looking at me. Some of us stayed close. Helped out. The table went quiet. Old Naomi would have rushed to soothe that. To explain. To shrink. New Naomi didn't. I didn't leave to escape responsibility, I said calmly. I left to grow. There's a difference. Claire scoffed. Must be nice. My mom spoke before I could. It wasn't easy for her, she said. And it doesn't have to be a competition. That stopped everyone, including me. That was the moment I knew something had truly changed. After dinner, Claire cornered me near the fence. So now you're the success story? She asked. You disappear, and suddenly you're the favorite? I met her eyes. I didn't disappear to punish anyone, I said. I disappeared because I wasn't being treated with respect. She opened her mouth. Closed it. You all talk about family, I continued. But family doesn't get to erase parts of you to feel comfortable. She looked away. I didn't know you felt that way, she muttered. I tried telling you, I said. You just didn't hear it when it wasn't quiet. We stood there for a moment. Then she nodded once. No apology, but no attack either. It was enough. When we left, my mom squeezed my hand in the car. I'm proud of you, she said. Not loudly, not publicly, just honestly. On the drive back, I watched the streetlights pass and realized something important. I hadn't won. I hadn't taken revenge. I had reclaimed myself. The people who wanted the old version of me felt unsettled. The ones who respected the new version leaned in. That's how you know which relationships are real. Later that night, I checked my phone. A message from my mom. Thank you for coming. And for being patient with me. I replied. Thank you for meeting me where I am. One final message came through before I went to sleep. From Claire. I'm still figuring things out, but I'm glad you're okay. I smiled. Not everything was healed, but it was honest. And honesty is the real ending, or at least the beginning of one. Because the final lesson of my quiet disappearance, it wasn't about them noticing my absence. It was about me never abandoning myself again. The funny thing about disappearing quietly is this. You don't come back the same. You don't come back asking. You don't come back apologizing. You come back anchored. Months after that barbecue, my life looked nothing like the one I was once ashamed to explain. My mornings were calm. My work felt meaningful. My phone was quiet in the best way. And my relationship with my mother, it wasn't perfect, but it was real. She stopped introducing me with disclaimers, stopped softening my story for comfort. When people asked about me now, she said, "She works hard. She's doing well." No edits. No embarrassment. And the most important part, I no longer needed her approval to breathe freely. That was the real revenge. Not disappearing to hurt her, but disappearing long enough to remember myself. One evening, while unpacking groceries in my apartment, I found the framed childhood photo she'd sent months ago. I held it for a moment. The girl in that picture looked hopeful, unaware, eager to please. I placed the frame back on the shelf, not as a reminder of where I came from, but as proof of how far I'd gone without losing my kindness.
My mom and I still talk.
Sometimes about small things, sometimes about hard ones. But there's a boundary now.
Clear.
Quiet, unmovable, and interestingly, she respects me more because of it. People often ask if I regret not confronting her sooner, not demanding an apology, not forcing a dramatic reckoning. I don't, because confrontation would have kept me trapped in her narrative. Silence gave me space to write my own. Here's what I learned. And if you're listening closely, maybe you need this too. If someone only values you when you fit their image, they don't value you. They value control. And the bravest thing you can do isn't proving them wrong. It's removing yourself from the equation entirely. When I stopped showing up for judgment, I finally showed up for myself. When I stopped explaining my worth, it became undeniable. And when I stopped begging for a seat at the table, I built my own. So if you've ever been excluded, minimized, or quietly erased, let this be your permission. You don't owe access to people who only love curated versions of you. You're allowed to grow beyond the roles they assigned you. You're allowed to disappear from spaces that require you to shrink. And when you return, if you choose to return, you do it on your terms. That's not cruelty. That's self-respect. If this story resonated with you, do me a favor. Like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to the channel Silent Revenge Lab for more stories where quiet strength wins louder than any argument. Your silence can be powerful too, if you use it wisely.